I'm here in a very unique spot this time. I never thought I'd do this, but I am here with Bobby Phillips, who runs sound for
Gwar.
Jeez, this.
All right, get out of my way, stupid human, get out of here. Listen, this is an outrage. This is terrible. I've already killed all of security. I've worked my way through the crowd as much as I could. There's so many people there. I am supposed to be on the guest list. It's under Sawborg Destructo. It's supposed to be there right now. I need to have a laminate. I'm not doing a sticky. Talk to me.
No sticky? Why no sticky? What's wrong with the sticky? What's wrong with the sticky?
I need a laminate. I need all access. I need to be able to kill these guys backstage at my leisure.
Is this what you want?
I need that. Give me this.
Go get it. Go.
Get out of my way.
Good Sawborg. Good. Go fetch. Go fetch. All right. Sorry about that. That's Sawborg. Sawborg shows up randomly. He's been around for a millennia trying to get these guys off planet, and I spend a lot of time keeping him away from them.
Is he gone?
I doubt it. But, you know, we're just going to, next time he comes in,
This is useless. It doesn't work. I hate it. No, you just give me my time. I'm infuriated.
Well, he may be back. It's best to just ignore him next time he comes in. Just pretend he's not here.
God, it smells.
Puts everything in his ass. Everything. It's amazing.
I have so many questions. Is that it? Is he coming back? Are we good?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
We'll find out. He may pop up. We're just going to roll through this and see what happens.
So what got you into running sound?
I was about 15, and I was playing guitar in a band, and I said something mean to the sound guy, and he said, "You think you could do better?" And I said, "Yes."
No, you didn't.
And then I went up there, and I realized my dad was an elevator mechanic, and I realized elevators were the same thing as a soundboard.
Totally.
And I played, it's signal flow. It's just all like, oh, you push this button, the electricity goes through here. You taught me to fix them. And I was like, oh, this is the same thing. And then I played trombone, so I understood frequency. So I started doing sound with the guy, and he's like, oh, okay, you can do this. And we just kind of worked together for years and ran a couple clubs. And then I was playing in a band that got, you know, decent size with the MySpace era, and built a production company basically around that band. And then the singer had a baby, and my brother and I flipped to just doing this full time, and ended up, you know, running a company that had screen printing and Backline and recording studios and rehearsal spaces and all sorts of stuff in it, and did that for a long time up until COVID, and was touring all through that. And my brother was running the shop with a couple other people, and then we shut it down during COVID. The roof, my landlord had a roof put on my neighbor's unit, and they put it on mine and flooded the whole thing. So I took it as a sign to get out of that, and then didn't know what I was going to do anymore. And I was touring with a bunch of pop and indie bands, and all of a sudden I got a call from Scumdogs, and here I am, years later. I don't know if it's Stockholm Syndrome or if I enjoy it. I say that a lot because I'm not sure, but I'm here, and it's a good time. Sorry.
Yeah, I have so many questions, though.
Yeah.
Like, where's that guy from?
I don't know which planet he's from. He was built by Techno Destructo years and years ago when the Scumdogs got banished to Earth. And then they were sent by the master who kind of organizes all their warriors, which the Scumdogs were part of, and sent them to find them and bring them back to the fold. And he found them on Earth, and they had been here for a long time. They were fucking monkeys, and humans came out, and then they decided rock and roll and drugs were cool in the 80s and started doing that. So it's easy to find them now because our name's plastered everywhere. So he just kind of follows the tour and tries to take him back home, and it never works. We just beat his ass and send him away and think we're done, and
He just comes back.
for more.
He just keeps coming back.
It's a glutton for punishment.
You do TM and front of house.
And production managing and therapist. Gwar is a multifaceted job. All of us here have multiples just because we just 14 of us on a bus right now, and all of us do 2 or 3 different things. So it's a large it's a large production that we figured out how to do with as few crew as possible.
Sure.
And we make it work for the most part. You know, there's always certain things like blood that throw wrenches in the works. But
You have so many different variables with this band that's kind of fascinating to me. First off, the fact that you can even come and play in a club blows my mind that they allow you to do that. Like, how you get allowed to be able to play in a club with doing this? Seriously, like that's nuts.
there's a lot of hesitation for places or people that haven't worked. Like, there'll be some clubs we've gone to for years, and it's a new staff, and they're just like, "What do we do?" And we're like, "It's okay, it's all right. We'll go through it all." My advances are very thorough. We rewrote the rider when I came in. It's 14 pages. There's 2 just on the blood. You know, I send about 20 advanced questions to each venue, like just to have it all a master tour for everybody. And I spend a lot of time on the phone with the ones that haven't ever done us before, and we walk through the whole day.
So what are some of the misconceptions about this?
That we fuck shit up, you know, like that we tear things apart, that we, you know, that the club is not standing when we leave. We're
just burning it to the ground.
Yeah, and back in the day, I think there were things like that in the 80s and 90s before I was ever around. But since I've been around, everyone's gotten older, everyone's kind of calmed down a little bit, and that Motley Crue lifestyle went away. And then the passing of Dave about 10 years ago too, he loved to just push boundaries, and we still do, but just in different ways now. If that makes sense.
Just turn the volume up a little bit. You just did.
Yeah, or make it seem like it's more than it actually is. You know, like we put 100 gallons of blood on people every night, and then they're worried it's going to be everywhere.
Is it really 100 gallons?
It's 100 gallons, and then about 80% of that leaves.
It's all over people.
Yeah, it's just on the people, and then Sawborg comes and kills a couple, and then they got to clean up real blood. But you know, they're usually fine with it by then. If they're not, he just kills them too. So there's really no one left to complain ever. But that's why there's sometimes new people at these clubs we go to all the time. So it's
high turnover.
Yeah. Gwar shows. It's a holiday for everybody else that we go to. It's Groundhog's Day for me. It's just the same, you know.
What do you think makes Gwar as prevalent today as it did back in the day?
It's a good question. I mean, it's like before it was shock. It was like, what is going on, you know? And I guess as the world followed the path of South Park and became crazier, we were still doing the same things, but now it's become a satire versus like just shocking you and being like, this is what could be. It's like, oh, that's funny because that's actually happening. Things like that. And
I think I see him again.
yeah, I have no doubt he's coming back. It's just a matter of when.
He's kind of terrifying, actually.
Yeah, he's kind of lovable. You know how you get him? The prostate. Just play with the prostate.
Well, okay, so you said there's a bunch of your writer. I want to talk a little bit about. I know we'll go off and walk and talk about front of house here in a second. Walk to the stage, but talk to me a little bit about the advancing that you do in preparation for. You said there's a 14 pages or 11 pages, and
so
then
14,
about 20 questions. What are some of those?
So like the questions and like Wi-Fi is always the main one. Parking, you know, out of the normal ones, like where does it go into like Gwar? 72 towels. People think I'm joking. We always advance 72 towels for the tour package because of all the blood. Like, and it's pre-washed too. It can't be like just off the rack. There's fuzzies. There's chemicals on them. It irritates the guy's skin. So the first thing I do, I walk in and ask where the towels are. You know, and like I can tell how the day's gonna go on if they're there and washed or if they're not there, and what else did they read?
That's the green M&Ms.
It is. It's the green M&Ms, but it's a serious thing. Working showers, like we're coming to be like, sorry, the showers aren't working. I'm like, what's your plan? Oh, do you guys really need them? It's like, have you seen the show? Like, you understand what happens, right? Like, so.
I think it's very smart. People hear the green M&Ms thing, and for you guys that don't know about this with the writers, that like writers are preparation in advance for a show or things that the artists require for it. But they did write in things like green M&Ms, but it wasn't necessarily for. They wanted the green M&Ms as you can walk in, you can see that, and now you can tell, did they pay attention to everything
You know how
else?
the day goes, and that's also a breach of contract. So if they mess up anything else, you can just say you didn't have the green M&Ms, pay us, we're leaving. So, you know, it's the same with us. Like security is a big thing. Security meetings, like people, like understanding what's going on, so people don't get dropped in the barricade and stuff like that. Like we have serious talks about security. We have serious talks about like backstage, like the costumes, like safety. Safety is a huge thing. So because we have so much happening, it's not like a band that can just rent Backline and bring their guitars and play a show. There's a semi truck worth of latex costumes and high pressurized tanks and you know your other standard stuff as well. But it's mainly, you know, like I have guys that are wearing costumes, they can't see what they're doing. You have somebody that's not paying attention and they're going to crash right into them. They're going to fall into them. You know, if somebody's in a space when these guys are getting changed and they're vulnerable, you know, like it's not fair to them as they're trying to do a show to just have people wandering through, taking props, taking pictures. You know, everyone has to be on. Like when I go to a venue and I can tell that they're not on, I'm like, this is about to be a bad day.
Yeah.
And we work very hard to fix that, like right from the start. Like I just have to be very direct. I have to be like, so you're gonna fix this? And I don't leave until they say yes. And we just kind of go from there. But it's you know, we always work stage size. We have like a minimum in the rider, but obviously sometimes clubs are a little bit different. We work with them, we figure it out. Sometimes we may cut some of the monsters or the gags just for space. So the show changes nightly depending on what we can actually accomplish on the stage and the backstage given to us. We were at a club the other day that the roof was the dressing room. I wasn't very happy. They weren't very happy, you know, but we made the show happen, but we had to cut like our big blue monster and our torture rack with Hitler on it. We couldn't do that for anybody because there just wasn't room, you know, so it's a back and forth every day that we walk in, venue access, and have a conversation with everybody and really figure out what needs to come off the truck. You know, the goal is everything. Doesn't always happen. So, but we still do a show.
Have you ever had clubs that you come into and they're like, we're not doing this?
Not since I've been around. I've had one outdoor show in the Midwest to where it was outside. There was no fence. There was 2 security guards and other things. And I told them, don't unload the truck. And we sat there for 2 hours as they fixed everything. That was the only time with them that I felt like we weren't going to have a show. Every other time we figured it out. There's been some heated conversations after some shows, you know, when things don't go the way we expected them to. But for the most part, everybody knows what we are. You know, they understand what we're doing. There's always at least a couple veterans at a club for the most part. I've had some that no one's ever done it, and that's a rough day just because they want to make sure everything's right, you know, or they don't know what they got themselves into. But for the most part, everyone's like, it's a holiday for most of these venues. Like they always have white shirts for the staff. You know, they like them to get sprayed. So that's always great. But there are some times where you just see deer in headlights and you're like, oh, sweetheart, it's all right. We're good.
Oh, no.
Oh, no has definitely been heard. Yeah.
Nowadays, people are wearing a lot more hats.
Yes.
On tour. And I think they're trying, I think I've had some friends that are trying to do a lot of these things. And it's tough to do. Front of house, TM, PM. I can't understand with bands that are growing up.
Yeah.
Are coming up with it.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
I just find that a lot of business managers are like, well, we did it before. What's the problem? And it's like they just don't understand. It's never really the band. It's whoever they've trusted to help them with their financing that will push them to be like, well, it's work, so let's just keep doing it until it doesn't.
Yeah.
But like the bands realize and see burnout, and they try to fix it a lot of the times. But like the problem is you do have people that are good at it, and so they just feel like everyone should be. And it's I don't think I could do all 3 roles if I didn't spend the last 2 decades doing this, like in different things and working under other people and learning what to do and what not to do, and building a streamlined system. Like that's like we do a lot of advancing before the tour even starts. Like Master Tour is I probably couldn't do it without that program or something like that to be able to have all the data right there for everybody. I mean, it's a lot of I spend a lot more time working off the road than most people I think realize to get everything just prepped for it. I mean, especially with these guys, they're building costumes all year round. Like, this is a full-time job for me, regardless if I'm on other tours. I'm still working on Gwar stuff. Like, it's not a...
So what's your advice to people who are just starting to do those multiple roles?
You know, don't take a super low rate. Like, first off, because like that only hurts you in the future, and it hurts all of us that have been doing this as a living.
Yeah.
You know, like know your worth, understand, make friends with people that are doing it that can help kind of guide you. I mean, there's no set rate, right? But there are rates that are appropriate for people and things.
Yeah.
So make friends with people who have been doing it for a while that can be like, hey man, you might want to bump that up a little bit, or, you know, yeah, that's probably good to do it on this one, but don't expect to keep doing that gig, you know.
Yeah.
But it's organization for sure. I mean, even just tour managing. I can't believe some of these tour managers that I see that it's not organized. The band knows more than the tour manager, you know, like,
yeah, that's tough.
so it's a, like, understanding what the job is in and out, and when you're managing people, understanding the jobs you have people do. So like, if you don't know about merch, figure that out, because you're gonna have to help. If you don't know about sound, you don't have to be a sound guy, but you have to understand like limitations of things. Like, I'm not a lighting guy. I can fix a desk. I can help them with like ArtNet or whatever, tech side of it. Don't ask me to program a show. No interest at all. Everything else though I know, but I know what that guy needs to do his job. And I know when a house person's there that isn't helping them, and that I need to go and be like, hey, either step it up or I got to find somebody else that works here, you know? And it's learning how to lean and communicate with your whole team, you know, like who's doing what. Is there anything that's not really specified that someone should be doing? Because that's gonna get somebody one day, you know, if you just expect it to get done. So like, being able to delegate, like, if you're doing multiple roles, you can't just be the one running around like a chicken fixing it all.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I see a lot of them doing, and they burn out, and no one's happy because nothing's getting done. Like, utilize the venues are here to help. Your crew's here to help. Like, you know, ask them what they're willing and not willing to do. If you're asking them to do more than what their pay is, go talk to business management. Say, hey, I want to give this guy a bump. You know, like stand up for the fact that we are giving parts of our lives away to do this, and you should be compensated correctly. Like, this isn't, and there's a lot of work and not a lot of people right now. So a lot of people want to get in it, but there's not a lot of people that have been doing it. So it's an interesting conundrum. And it's like why does the ambulance worker make $15 when the fast food worker does? You know, like, this isn't a fight between the two of those. This is a fight for a standard of living. But we also have, you know, what can be considered hazard pay. You sleep in a bus every night. You're working on stages. You're working around people. So, like, you know, like, try to be compensated for it is the best I can say, because you don't want to take too low a rate and not be able to afford to live. And you also don't want to piss off the guys that deserve that work as well, but they can't work for it because they're not going to work for cheap, you know? So I know that's a tough thing for people to talk about, but that is something people need to talk about. Yeah.
It seems like you're always in chaos.
Yes.
Always. Do you thrive in chaos? Do you like to have your downtime with stuff? And I know you're married. Like, how do you balance that?
I do. Not always well. It's still a learning process for sure. I mean, I work for 3 or 4 bands a year. These guys are the main ones, but I spend 9 or 10 months on the road a year. So it's when I'm home, I usually just ignore everything that I don't need to accomplish. But I've been sober for a while now too, and like, I used to be. When I was playing in bands and doing stuff, and before I was managing, I was definitely a wild child like the rest of them. So I find tour managing and running sound gets me enough to do during the day that I don't get bored, and I think I need that for sure. I need to be stimulated throughout the whole day, but I also enjoy the fact that I can get to like this and do things like this and know this is all fine. So it's like it's a rewarding thing every day to like build this puzzle and be able to have that downtime for at least an hour or two. But I also do stupid shit, like Cancer Bats is out with us, and I sing a song with them every night they're out. So, like, you know, I have time to do that stuff, but I'm also looking for things like that to do instead of just sitting. You know, like, if I'm sitting, I'm probably in my bunk taking a quick nap. Like just like, okay, let me sleep where I'm not moving down a
Yeah.
road. When I'm home, it's like I'll play some video games, I'll do something. My wife has a large list of things that I'm supposed to get done and keep ignoring. Hi Beth, sorry, but I'm in the middle of an interview right now. I was just talking to you on camera a second ago.
Oh, you're on camera right now.
Yeah, I'm on camera. We're in the middle of the interview. I'm hoping to get a couple months at home to where I can take care of some of that stuff and feel like a human as well. Because like you get out here and you just feel like it is Groundhog's Day. You're just like you're in a bubble. It's like, okay, I'm just doing the same thing every day. Like the rest of that doesn't matter. And then you still have to kind of pay attention to it and really try to maintain relationships because it's on you. You know, you're the one working. You have to make the time. I'm not always great at that. So like that's something I learned.
Also coming back, like it's tough because you're on the road. You're important, and people kind of cater to you.
Yeah.
You're kind of it everywhere you go, and then you get home and you're just kind of like a normal person.
Yeah. Like
again,
I
and
don't have a guy in a thong asking me for a towel. You know, like yeah, home. You're kind of just like, oh, okay, all right, let's reset. Like, you know, I don't listen to really much music anymore. I listen to podcasts or like I just enjoy the quiet with my wife and dogs. Sounds good. All right, thank you. Bye. Figuring out lunch for tomorrow for everybody. Feed them all. So, yeah, we do things like that too. We send a menu out the night before and get all their orders, and then as soon as the runner gets there the next day, we send out lunch and have food for them pretty much once they're done setting stage and can eat. That's the kind of stuff going back to things that we get at. Make sure everyone's happy. Feeding them, and when you have budget for it, it's great. Utilize that budget correctly. You know, that's something. You know, you can't give them pizza for lunch and dinner every day or Taco Bell. Like Beth spends a lot of time looking at restaurants and finding something that'll accommodate everybody, and a little different every day, but healthy options. Like I mean, most of these guys are 50 plus too, so like we try to make sure they're eating well. You know, like. And not
always eat the greens.
Yes, yeah. Some of them still have trouble with it, but you know, water. We always keep liquid IV on the bus, like things like that. We keep the bus stocked with like, we don't do meat trays or cheese trays anymore. We do like half pounds of lunch meat. We keep it all on the bus. Like they always have something they can eat. Like some of them like Pop-Tarts. Some are like, hey, can I get this kind of beer? It's like cool. You know, liquor. Don't do liquor. Don't. Anytime a band wants liquor, tell them they're on their own. Like that's the best advice I can give right there. But yeah, it is like, and that's the kind of stuff all day long I do. It's calls and text messages, and like I also don't let support bands advance or communicate with the venues if we're headlining. I do it all for them, so they have one point of contact. So all the other TMs let me know what they need, and then me and Beth will facilitate that information. Like the other day, the showers were bubbling up in the support dressing room, and instead of them having to find somebody, they just let me know. I let somebody know, and they immediately had it taken care of. So it's a little more work for me, but at the same time, it's a lot less work for me because I don't have 3 different tour managers asking the one runner I have for things all at the same time. So
that's actually pretty smart.
Yeah, it's worked out a lot. The guest list is all through us. Like they have their number of spots, and it takes a lot off the support guys. And like they feel like they're not doing much, but it's like take a break. Like I got to do all this anyway. Like you know you're gonna be sending it to me to send in, so just add it to my master tour. And like schedules, I do all that. I do all the parking maps for them all, like all that stuff. Like you know however they want to get paid, wire, cash, check. I'll usually. If they're cool with it, I'll just settle all the package at once, so they're not chasing people around. And it's how do I make it easy on the venue, my crew, and whoever's supporting us at the same time. So it's a circus.
What do you think is the ultimate tour hack?
The ultimate tour hack?
Yeah.
Oh God. Having a good book bag with pockets, lots of pockets, and like. Things like a rain jacket that can squish up and live in a pocket, you know, have chargers, tons of chargers, you know. I always have a spare tablet for things. You never know when someone's like, our singer had to go home because his mom passed, and all the other guys stepped up and learned all the songs and sang them all, but we got them teleprompters for Ableton. So I had an extra tablet where I could set it up as a teleprompter for one of the guys. And like, you just never know what you're going to need. You know, like if there's something that pops up more than once in a tour, you're probably going to need it. Again, it may not be used often.
Yeah.
But like I have like cable testers for EtherCon, Ethernet, all that stuff too that can tell me if pens are bad. I've checked house cables before and found their cables are bad and fixed them for them. You know, like it's like this. You learn in whatever band you work with, there are things that go wrong. So have a plan, you know, and have something to fix it. You know, like one thing I wish I had is a good work box that has a little table and drawers for my printer and all. It all lives on the bus, the Pelicans. But like that's my next thing I'm gonna get is just a little box that has everything me or the guys will need in it. On the admin side, I guess you could say, because we have work boxes for tools and all, but like you don't think about needing paper clips or binder clips or things like that until you get into this world, and then when you need them, you need them. So it's like finding those things that like you may not use for a tour or two, but when you need it, it's there. You know, like we always make sure there's a spare set of ears. We use the Shure 425s with the Sensophonics made us custom ears. We like those are great people, but I always keep an extra set. Like as soon as they tell me we use the spare set, I send a runner out to buy another set. Like so, I've just learned what towels. I keep a ton of extra towels in the truck because some people don't believe we need 72, and then like they don't have a way to fix it. So,
How'd you get that number 72?
So each of my mainline guys in the band use 2 each, so that's 10. My monsters use 6, so that's 16, and then another 8 or so for the crew is 24. So then round us up to 36 as spares, and then another 36 for support is kind of where we look. And then 24 stage towels. So 12 go to us, the 12 go to the other bands, unless they tell me they need more. But that's just kind of the standard number we've ended up on.
They agree.
Yeah, they see everyone who agrees. Towels for Gwar. If we come to your venue, towels. Towels are serious. But yeah. I guess the hack is just try to figure out how to be prepared, not just for you, but everybody else, you know, or find a way to support.
What was your approach to mixing on this one when you walked into it? Because going, like, how do you organize through like chaos, man?
They're actually incredible musicians. So they're clean players. They understand music far more than I think most people realize. I think they all think it's a gimmick, but these guys, like, the amount of time signature changes and just changes in general these guys are capable of, and they're playing all this hard stuff that a lot of other people can't play in hockey and football gear covered in latex. You know, so like they know how to play their instruments. So that wasn't the problem as much as shoving so much shit onto a stage to where cymbal bleed was always an issue with so many open mics and stuff like that, to where the first tour I just did it on an M32. And I was happy with it, but I knew I could do more. So the compressors, the gates on that X32 aren't exactly what I needed. So that's where I brought in the Waves system and started using like the PSE and the F6 and like the Sylvans plugin and like the Renaissance compressors. Put it on a lot of our stuff that just kind of gave me much more surgical ability to get rid of that cymbal bleed or when I had live cabs on stage that were loud as shit, like just cut all that out and just make the source what the source is. So I leaned hard. The first tour I leaned hard into like that 80s feel, like whatever the PA is, there's gonna be bleed. I just kind of worked around it. And then the second tour with them, I took all my multi-tracks and got really surgical in my studio. And really just, I listened to like 5 or 6 different live shows in different sized rooms and tried to find the average of what I needed to set everything to. And then just kind of kept dialing and dialing and dialing.
Jim's here.
I know, he's already been in here. Yeah.
See the guys here before?
Yeah, Jim Reed, a great guy, old monitor engineer, Gwar, funny guy. Yeah, it just learned, I just took this big raw thrash punk metal band of all these different genre squished together with screaming and singing and I just kind of I made it work the first tour and it was cool, but then as I understood what they were,
and how they work, I got surgical and more surgical and more surgical. That M32 file, it's probably close to 250 shows deep, you know, with the wave stuff. So I mean, I always start each tour with what I started with last tour, and I kind of
Oh, so you don't start fresh.
no.
Interesting.
There's so much. I mean, it's the same setup, you know. It's just with them, I find it better. I find it better just to go in with what I like, not listen to what I did for however many months. Come in and listen to it in the rehearsal space. See what they changed in gear. Like we just switched to orange from PV or an Ampeg for Casey for bass and Kemper for Grodius, who's the new lead guitar player. So I had to make some adjustments to that. And then as I got everything cleaner, I was able to really look at like the drums and be like, okay, what do I want to do with the toms? Like, how am I going to make this kick punchy, but like space between every note? And just took a show or two and just said, all right, I'm going to ride my faders, but really this room is the kind of room where I have trouble with the toms. Let me just go and really, really think about it and just focus on the toms for 3 or 4 of these songs and just kind of know the rest of the mix is good and just be like, all right, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? There's bodies in the room. This is the ultimate time to just kind of figure it out. And I took gambles a lot of times, but like sometimes I'd be like, oh, that was wrong. But most of the time it got cleaner and just cleaner. It's cool being with a band this long to where as they're growing, you're growing as well. And it's like this collaboration all together. Like they'll listen to things back and like I do a lot of like vocal effects on the singer to like make him sound like a demon or make him sound like have some harmonies to things, and like I'll play with stuff and sometimes they'll be like, that was really cool. And sometimes they're like, why did you do that? And I'm like, well, this, and then I'll explain it. And they're like, oh, that makes total sense, you know, or they're like, don't do that again. Yeah. You're just like, okay.
For rehearsals, do they dress up in full, or is it just the tops?
No. When Tommy joined, I did tell him, I was like, put him in the suit. So the last week of rehearsal for the first tour with Tommy earlier this year, he spent the entire rehearsal as Grodius. But the rest of the guys have been doing it for 10, 20 years. Yeah. Like they want to focus on like some of these songs they've been playing forever. Like how do we change it up a bit and like but still keep the essence of it. So like and you see them all in different places. Like some are worried about the stuff in between, like the voiceovers, and some are worried about like changing stuff up. Some are worried about just getting it right, you know, like some of them, and like Beefcake has been 6 different people. So like there are records. So Mike Bishop, the original Beefcake, is now Blothar. He left the band a long time ago and came back when Dave died. Casey's been Beefcake 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. You know, so there are records he wasn't involved with. And sometimes they're like, we're gonna play this song, and he's like, what song? He didn't even know it, you know, he wasn't involved in those albums. I mean, they've had 20-something albums, I guess. I don't even know. Like, so they're constantly, it's just new music all the time with core people that have been there forever, and then other people who have come and gone. So you're learning different. So Casey has his style that's on records, but then he's also imitating Bishop, and he's also imitating some of the other guys who were on those records as well. So it's not just a band that sounds the same on every record. But yeah, no, it's an art collective. It's not a band. Like, you know, like they have musicians, but like it's a theatrical performance in every way. And all of us are involved, every single one of us. Like no one, they want input. Like I'm the only one that's seen the last 300 shows, you know, every single one. I'm the only one. So like there's a lot of input for me that they want to know. There's things I say that they'll listen to, like, you know, it's how do we do the best show possible? And there's some ego here and there. I mean, they've been doing it 40 years. Like sometimes it's just like, you know, but a lot of when I came in was getting them out of that box and saying, you know, yes, you've been doing it this way for 40 years, but let's step outside of it. Like, and they've been very receptive. So it's been cool. Like, I mean, you just.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I came into this like not really knowing what to expect and kind of apprehensive, and I was very judgmental with it walking into it, going like I'm a little nervous, but it's been awesome to see. Everybody's been awesome. It's funny. Everybody, I've got to see the show. Yeah, I'm excited to see the show, but like it's been kind of impressed me actually.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of thought that went into going to this stuff behind everything went on behind the scenes. You can see the the
Yeah.
passion of like, we're not just going up there and do chaos.
Yeah, and we'll
But-
show you some of that. We're gonna go check some of that out, and so you can see how that runs, and like see what we're actually doing, and show the folks out here what actually goes into a Gwar show, because there's a lot behind the curtain, that most people have not gotten to see, and Nick's gonna show us.
Actually, let's go do it.
Yeah, let's go do it.
back.
Cool.
All right, Bobby, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Bob Gorman.
What do you do?
I play and make monsters for Gwar.
You make the monsters.
Make a lot of them. There's a whole team of us, but I'm one of the monster makers, and I get to play monsters as well. So,
Okay.
yes.
And what do you play?
Right now, in the past 10 years, I've been just one monster, which is Bone Snapper. He's kind of the executioner sidekick character. Before that, for most of my career, I've been every victim and every celebrity and every person that gets killed. I play 5 characters a night, every night for tours on end. So I've lucked into just being in one character lately. That's kind of a fairly new thing.
Do you play as well?
No, I sing one song
Okay.
in Gwar. So, but no, I play no instruments at all.
35 years is amazing.
Yeah.
What? Okay, so what has helped keep your sanity through those 35 years? I don't know very many people who are. I mean, being on the road is tough in itself, but being on the road for 35 years, I mean,
Well, you know, we
this
come
whole
and go
thing
with-
is chaos. Like,
when we're not on the road, we're doing this as well. We're building stuff. We're creating content and things like that. Every time I go get a regular job, that's what makes it easier to do this. Because you know the square world sucks, and as much as it's saner, it's not that much saner. You know, it's just as crazy working at Quiznos. I think there's lunatics everywhere, and you're not getting paid anything. So, you know, it's just you're in charge of yourself. So it's harder, but it's more rewarding.
I think one of the things I really enjoy about you guys is that you have been relevant throughout, where a lot of other artists, they have to come and play their album, whereas you guys can actually tap into cultural events and stay fresh every single time. So I'm sure that's got to be nice to be able to like still stay relevant through it.
Well, we try to, and you know, I mean, we will do full albums, you know, because everyone, that's a nice thing to fall back on. And, you know, even when new albums come out, we've done that a couple of times when it's a really good concept album that has a lot going on with what's going on culturally. But I've said this a million times, I think we're like Mad Magazine, you know, we probably were, I mean, we're left leaning, but it's our job to make fun of everybody and kind of, you know, just say, hey, everyone's crazy, you know.
So I'm sure the show has evolved quite a bit in the 35 years, especially in technology. Technology has made so many different advancements. How has the show evolved for you in the last, you know, I would say at least 10 years? Has been so many significant changes with that.
I think we're always trying to tighten things up and use things like for the longest time, because it was originally a group of artists and musicians who thought they knew everything and were doing things a different way. And that's what kind of set us apart. But sometimes that's a handicap, where if there is technology you can use, fall back on that and not have to hand make every single thing. We're just trying to tighten things up and do what we do really well, and then use what other technologies can help us use those technologies. You
Sure.
know? Just smarter, not harder. I mean, that's not, that sounds so lame, but it like we kill ourselves constantly and we work our asses off. So as we have evolved, we've tried to be like, well, one thing that we do is we do stuff, and when it doesn't work, we do something else. And then if that works, we stay with that, you know? So that's really our lesson is just, you know, keep doing stuff until you figure out what works for you.
So for the costume stuff, talk to me about your inspiration for creating costumes, and then how has that changed from the beginning of when you created the costumes? Did you just kind of run with it? And
Well, the world has changed dramatically since the 80s, and so like a lot of the stuff that we loved that people weren't into, or there was a very small group of people that in the mid-80s were into Big Daddy Roth and you know, lower cultural things, they've become like the mainstream now. So we've actually have a hard time like freaking anyone out, I think, because like everything has become so South Park, you know, and juxtaposed. Those things change the landscape, like, so we're just like normal now. But I think the fact that we're just sort of a cultural institution, I hope, that people still find us relevant to a degree, that we still like. You know, it's like when Kathy Griffin had a thing about killing Trump and everyone kind of like tried to cancel her, and we were doing the same thing every night, and no one, oh, that's what Gwar does. So it's almost like, oh boy, we can't even get in trouble.
That's
You
such
know?
a good point. I never really
Yeah.
thought about that. The noise has gotten so much
Yeah.
more, and the shock has gotten so much more.
Yeah, it's almost like stuff's just lazy, you know. We have to really think about how we're doing something and be smarter about it, you know. So a lot of it is the writing, and a lot of people like Dirks, a lot of people in the band have stepped up. It used to be a couple of people, now it's real everybody, and a couple more people have stepped up to for the, you know, we can make the craziest costume, but how you use it and the story you put it in is more important, you know. How you light it, you know, the sound quality. We used to just be so punk rock, it would be like, it sounded like crap, it looked, you know, the lighting was terrible, but the costumes are so crazy, they carried everything. Now it's like, okay, you know, when everyone knows we got crazy costumes, it's got to be good sound and good lighting too. It's just stuff like that, tightening everything up.
What's been your favorite costume?
You know, when we challenge ourselves, when I challenge myself, like there was something, I didn't think I could do it, and a couple of the other guys knew I'd built something similar to it. A couple years ago, I had a two-man costume that I built, that he comes out and dances around, and then he gets cut in half, and the two halves jump around and continue to fight, because it's two guys in a costume. And to sell that, to make it look like it's a one person, you know, Gwar is really incredible. I had very little to do with Gwar, but so like for me personally, this Dickie Duncan costume that I did a couple years ago, that was something I challenged myself, and I was super stressed, and I didn't think it was going to work. And the first night we debuted it and it worked, I like almost cried. So,
Wow.
you know, yeah.
Well, I guess I was going to ask, what was the most challenging costume to make? I'm assuming that would be
That
one.
was you know, that was one of them, because you know we're kind of limited, so we have so much room to do things, and so we have a lot of ideas, but we know if it's like, oh, we could do that, but could we use it every night? So, you know.
Has there been a concept or a theme you find yourself keep coming back to?
I mean, I really think it's just, so we go back and forth between being in Gwar world, being in our own mythos and our own reality, like let's say DC or Marvel, you know what I mean? Or being in the real world, like we're doing now with politics and stuff. And so we try and find a balance where we're like, all right, we're gonna do a little of both. Sometimes I think it's like, oh, we're killing a bunch of celebrities, that's kind of easy or lazy, depending on you know. But I mean, it's just really like whoever's in the spotlight and whatever we think. So sometimes we'll be like, oh, we're gonna make fun of politics in general, and we make up our own politician, or religion in general, and make up our own thing. And that may be, I like that better than being like, oh, Falwell or Trump, because sometimes that's just easy, you know. It's easy to hate them. So, and we just keep coming back to, you know, the way Gwar deals with the world is they kill things. So, you know, it's as simple as that. You know, it's like, oh, how do we deal with religion? How do we deal with politics? We just kill them. You know, so that's pretty much the main thing.
Do you find you have more people push back nowadays with the quote-unquote cancel culture, or was it more before, when it was more, you know, you look back 20, 30 years ago when the whole world was a lot more conservative?
Oh yeah, back then. Like I said, I don't think we can get arrested anymore, you know, because like that's just what we do, and everyone knows that, and they sort of just don't even get, you know, which kind of is frustrating, because we want to, you know. The last time there was a protest, I mean, I can't even remember the last time there was a protest. When I first joined the band, it was like a protest once a week, or shows getting shut down, and you know, things like that, and you know, that's great publicity.
Yeah.
So we were, you know, one of those bands that got banned constantly, and I can't remember the last. Well, I can, but it's been quite a while.
So looking back on your career, what is the biggest highlight you have from it?
Well, just being able to maintain is one thing, and try and stay relative, where we can fill rooms and say, like, do people still care? Are we relevant? You know, if no one, you know, comes to see you, and you know, or you become just play your old stuff. Staying relevant, I think, is, you know, getting to meet. I've met a lot of our, you know, heroes. You know, I went to H.R. Geiger's house. I've hung out with Robert Williams. A lot of people that are influenced Gwar, we became peers with, and that was really incredible to know that they respected us. But really just staying relevant and having a job for 35 years and being a weirdo artist, you know.
What was the hardest gig you've ever had to do?
A couple nights ago. No, I mean,
Like, what was
it's
your
just-
oh shit moment? Like, oh crap, I don't know what the heck this is turning into now, but how do we even get through this?
Boy, that is a tough one. I'd really have to look at maybe. Well, I mean, when Dave died, I thought we were done, and and that would have been fine because he wasn't the person that wrote everything or did everything, but he was the figurehead and he was the glue. So when he passed away, like I didn't think we were going to continue, and the fans responded with what we were doing and let us know that it was okay, so we kept going. So I think that's probably it.
So, what would be your advice to other bands or people who would want to be in your position one day? Speaking of maintaining this for 35 years and being culturally relevant for that long, what's your advice?
Man,
to
I
other
mean,
band or artists?
I think the thing that we have done right is we have not pandered to anyone but ourselves. Like we're like, what we like, there are other weird people that like that. And if you try and go with whatever's popular at the moment, you might make money for a minute, but I don't know if we're in such a very specific niche. I don't know other than be true to I think artists should be true to their art. They should be true to what they like and what they want to do. And you can bend. You can say like, oh, if I change 5%, life is a series of compromises. But what your mission statement is, what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to put out in the world, like stick to that. And people will respond,
Favorite song on this tour?
Gwar has so many albums. Like sometimes they'll play something and I'll be like, what is that? I don't even know. I like when he pulls stuff out of the wings. And so we've changed the set list on this tour like 3 times because our singer had to leave for a week and things like that. I love singing my song. So, that I don't get to sing it that often. So, but, there's 3 or 4 songs on every single album. I don't know if I could pick a favorite, really.
Okay.
I like when we pull at the deep cuts, things like that. But
What's the last song you performed that made you emotional in a good way?
well, when our guitar player died and then when Dave died, we would usually end the show with some sort of tribute to them. And we did that for about a year after Corey died and about 2 years after Dave died. And it was strange how every night it would just be as emotional as the first night. So things like that,
Well, if people want to follow you and follow your career, where can they follow you at?
Oh, this is hilarious. They have to go through Gwar Official because I have a flip phone. I'm like off the grid completely. Yeah, I have no.
Do you really have a
social
flip
media.
phone?
Yep. I don't have any social media. I have nothing. Yeah. So I'm lucky.
I got to see this.
Yeah. My cat on it.
Oh, that is awesome.
Yeah.
I've got my techs here. They're going to show you what a life of Gwar looks like every day. I've got Jesse who does monitors and playback, and Dave who does all of our backline. Dave has been kind enough to fill in for our guy Eddie, who's with Anthrax.
Wait, which one's Jesse? Which one's Dave?
I'm Jesse.
Hi, Jesse.
Hello. I'm Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Hello.
So Jesse's been with us for years. He does a whole bunch of stuff with us, and Dave has been with us for 4 days and has no fucking clue what's going on, but we'll see what's happening.
Do you know what's going on?
Not at all.
Not a thing?
They told me they'd kill my family if I don't show up
We're not
for
supposed
work.
to talk about that.
Do you even know where the stage is?
It's over there, right?
Yeah. Close it. All right, cool.
You're not coming?
Let's go take a look at some stuff and see what we got happening.
We often try to hide as much as possible because we are humans up here. So Dave here gets to
It's
hide.
the only humans in the show is you
Yeah,
guys.
if we end up making an appearance, we try not to. So Dave gets all back here, his little stations, guitars, all that. I get
Okay.
to hide over here, a bunch of doohickeys and stuff that makes noise. And then really I get to just control what everybody in the band hears. And then I also start and stop them. So
Okay,
that's,
so Monitor World, where's usually it's stage left? Is this Monitor World right here?
this is all of it.
This is monitors right here?
I got this guy as my main when I'm on the other side normally. And then we have the guitar rigs. But they
What are
have
you
to,
running it for monitors?
So there's computers and stuff like hidden up in this rack. I got my touchscreen computer screens here. And then, so it's, instead of me having a physical board, everything's a little bit more digital. I miss physical faders, but for sake of just being able to be mobile, kind of can go into any corner, I can do whatever I need to do. I like this rig a lot.
So what's the rig?
It's an M32 core, with the I/O all in there. A couple of Mac Minis, and then we run Ableton for all the backing tracks and all that fun stuff.
I also noticed that none of this gear is actually covered.
No, so I'm one of the only protected ones normally from the blood, because if I get hit, the show goes down. So I'm luckily one of the ones that stay dry.
So here's the big question. Could you wear a white shirt?
Yes, I still have to, wipe my hands off cables, whatever else. So again, to stay hidden, I try to stay in black. But yeah, I've done it before. You get a little bit of red, a little bit of blue all over you. We're used to it at this point. It's got to be home for a couple weeks before it's all the way gone.
What got you in with Gwar? How did you get connected with them?
It was actually my brother. We've worked together our whole adult lives at this point. We made music together. We run the business together, AV stuff. So when their other guy took off, he called me and said, "Hey, I need help." And I said, "Well, I can't say no to you."
Is this your first tour?
My main first big tour that I've been consistently on, hired on. Yeah, it's been about 2.5 years now. I've always filled in for Bobby when he was jumping between stuff. I've done some other stuff, but this is the first time I've really been on full runs. Has been this gig. Yeah.
So talk to me about running monitors for Gwar. How many channels you got?
So I got essentially I have 7 home mixes, 8, something like that, depending on what we end up needing. Everything's mostly in-ears now. The guys that don't wear in-ears, so the performers, the monsters, all that, I still have some wedges downstage so that they can hear the gags and all the skits and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, it's all the band, myself, and then Dave are all in-ears, so it's easy enough for everything, so we can have all the clicks, all the everybody can hear exactly what they need. It's not everybody needing to figure out. So at this point I know what everybody pretty much wants. So it's nice to be able to kind of have a baseline every day and just little tweaks and go from there.
How much of it is a set and forget? Or are you doing much adjustments during the show?
I'm always watching them. You never know what could be going wrong. It's one of those things that I'm always hyper aware if a cable's going bad, if I'm watching meters, I'm making sure that things are still running correctly. Swapping through everybody's mixes to make sure everything still sounds what I think that they want. And then, like I said, I have to start and stop everything as well. So I have to pay attention to what is going on so that everything is, there's no lulls in the show, everything's firing off correctly, you got cues, you got everything. So it's really like being almost like a keyboard player off stage as well.
I couldn't imagine having this. Do they have special cues for up, down stuff? Because with all the theatrics, how do you able to?
A lot of it's, you can kind of tell what people need. We do have our own little, the point, the up, the down. A lot of stuff during the show, they're not, unless it's a glaring, huge thing that is bothering them, it's almost not worth it to them to really make that change, unless it's throwing them off. That's what we really nail down a lot of their mixes so that it stays consistent, and then that way, if a problem arises, it's usually something isolated that can be fixed easily.
What was the biggest challenge for this tour for you?
Some of the places we've been, the RF, that's normally my biggest duty of the day is all the wireless stuff. So we've definitely ran into a few spots that just Different towns around this country are harder than others. Some days it's wide open, and you can just kind of pick whatever you want easily. And some days you got to really dig in and find that one little special spot for everything to sit, or else you're just gonna have static. You're gonna have people can't hear. You don't ever want those things cutting in and out. It's hard as a musician. Being a musician myself, it's hard when you're just getting big old pings of dropouts, ends, to keep, especially when they're in character as well. Not just, they got that whole thing going on top of them playing extremely intricate parts.
Advice for monitor engineers that would want to be in your shoes one day.
Oh man, it's you have to know your guys. That's one of the blessings of being on a tour and knowing the guys, and once you know what they want, what they ask for normally, it makes everything a lot easier. Take your time, know your gear. The faster you can do something for somebody, and then because you're gonna have 3 people asking for something all at once, so the quicker you can get through everything, the easier it is for sure. And making sure that all your stuff is organized, quick to grab stuff when something does go wrong. And yeah, it's staying on top of everything, and you're thinking about a million things at once, and then once it's done, you kind of just pack it away for the night.
Love it.
Yeah, man.
All right, where are we going next?
Let's talk to Dave a little bit.
Let's talk to Dave. What up, Dave?
What's going on?
So did you figure some stuff out now, or?
Yeah, I think so. I have a map to find my way around when I get a little lost, which is just about every day.
All right, take me to your world.
All right, this is
We made it.
this is my workstation.
Okay.
This is where we keep all the tools, polish up guitars, capture our victims for sacrifices. Got some zip ties in there too.
He's not kidding, is he?
No.
Like,
No. not at
capturing
all.
victims for sacrifices.
They try to get on the stage. We gotta do something. This is our guitar world over here. We've got ball sacks guitars, Grotius's guitars, Beefcake's bass guitars over here. Every day, as you know, they get a little messy. So I bring them here. I cut off all the strings in the morning, wipe off all the cum, guts, and blood and gore. And if I don't do a good job, then they make me drink it, which is bad. So I try to do that as well as I can. Wipe down the guitars, clean everything. Then we set up just Max drum set over here.
Good.
Everything's taped down, has to be done a very specific way. This little thing broke here earlier today, and I just spent a couple hours fixing it because he said if it doesn't work by today, he's gonna make me promise him my firstborn child. So,
All right, I got a couple questions.
Yeah.
Dude, how do you freaking keep these guitars clean with all the crap that goes on with this? Are you changing strings every single? You'd have to.
Every single day, every single show. Got to take everything off, everything apart, wipe it down, clean it. There's a lot of electronics and sensitive metals here that'll rust if you don't stay on top of it. So yeah, we do about 4 guitars and 2 basses.
Jeez.
And all of ball sacks guitars have MIDI pads built in them that we have been continuously trying to waterproof and
They have
failing.
MIDI pads?
Yeah. When it's hooked up, it's closed, and while you're playing, this will make different sound effects going along with what you're doing. So while he's playing, it's pretty cool.
Huh.
He's got that hooked both into Ableton, a theremin, and a bunch of pedals and a chaos pad that Ableton will switch which devices he's running at that certain time while he's playing. It's pretty cool. So he adds a lot of atmosphere to it that we wouldn't see otherwise. That I never know what's going to hit me out front because he's always changing shit and not telling anybody.
Oh my, I have a million questions for that when we get there. Okay, drums. You said you're drum tech, right?
Yes.
What's the drums?
In terms of
What brand are they?
Yamaha Oak Customs.
been with Yamaha for a long time, so they'll send him kits, and we just try him out and see what happens. He's got, I don't even know how many back at the pit where their stuff is, but he's been with this one for like 2 or 3 tours now.
Bro, how often are you changing mics?
We don't. This kit's been with us for 3 years. He doesn't really get hit. He doesn't get bloody. The blood stays off the stage for the most part, so that works
I guess
out.
that makes sense.
But I mean, we do have cables and things. Like a lot of it, we use the Diodario DB25 snakes just to keep it easy. So when blood gets in them, I'm not having to spend a ton of money or resolder. I just throw a new $50 box on there, and then see what we can fix after a tour. But usually the only thing that gets messed up on this is those snakes from being in the front where they put all the blood bags and all their swords and stuff like that and everything like that that's dripping. That's usually what gets us. It's been our kick-in has been the bane of our existence this tour. We replace the mic, replace the cable, replace the snake, replace the cable, replace the mic again. So we're trying to chase that and find out what it is causing that. But other than that, this just rolls in on a riser. We just mounted it to it, and that saved us hours a day of troubleshooting. So we've been very happy with
okay,
that.
I see now. Everything is all. Yeah.
It just splits down the middle and just rolls onto stage. We did that. We started doing that last year for the support run we did with Mudvayne and the amphitheaters, and we just decided this is going to work for clubs, and this is how we're going to do it. So it's been cool.
It's been one time in the past 2 years we've had to take it apart to get it into a venue, and that was on this run, and it sucked. But rather than building it every day, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Okay, blood bags.
Yeah, they have. So there's the blood cannons, which I'll introduce you to Scott for that one. Those are what hits the audience, and then they have like the blood you get from the Halloween store that they have in like little sandwich baggies that they smash on themselves and other things to make it look like they're bleeding or they've just killed somebody and all that. So they leave those up in front of the kit. So that's where sometimes one of those will go bad, and he'll call me on the radio and tell me it's soaked, and then I need to buy a replacement before the next show. So, but other than, it's really not, the gear stays all right. I mean, we have more failures in the cool things we were trying to accomplish than we do with what you would use for a standard band. It's the MIDI systems and all that kind of stuff as we're changing stuff throughout the show and through a tour where we'll be like, well, that didn't work. Let's figure out why. And redundancies. I have tons and tons of redundancies built in. Our 2 rigs actually can control each other from front of house and monitor world if someone gets sprayed. Ableton has controllers that are at his world, at Ballsack's world, and at front of house in case he's got to deal with something and can't fire the next track, or Ballsack's just tired of Blowthart's talking and just starts the next song. So it's all built like, oh shit, someone got sprayed, let's just take over his desk for a second, kind of, because he's even seen me get hit out front. Like, you need me to help? So it's a fun extra layer of excitement, if you want to call it that. Yeah. But it's a joy. So, but
How many times have you been hit?
7 good times in about 300 shows.
That's actually not bad.
No, they're really good about not getting me, but when they do, they fucking do. So it's it's a joy sometimes where you're just like, great. They've killed my Waves rack twice, and I've had to replace a bunch of parts in that, but now I've got waterproof covers on it and a road case that makes it very, very hard to hit me now. But we're in a venue that I might get sprayed tonight. You might catch some of that, actually.
What about you? You been sprayed yet?
No. Like I said,
tonight's the night, baby.
It's if they spray me, there's a good chance that the show stops.
We had one show where Blowthar he's got 2 Dixit spray, and he always grabs the one that's easily aimed, and the other one's willy-nilly. And he was doing something, wasn't paying attention, and it's just going directly at Jesse, and Ballsack just on his stilts just stops playing guitar and just takes it. For what it had to be about 30 seconds of him just not realizing he's hosing the guitar player down.
Yeah.
And
so that would have been the one time that I would have gotten hit, but yeah, Ballsack took the hit for me that one.
And you see, I have a talk back to the 2 techs, and I just hit up Eddie, our other guy. I was like, I think he's gonna need a new guitar. You just see him look over, and he's just like, fuck me, and just runs over, gives him another guitar, and clean, like it's amazing how quickly that guy can change strings and clean up guitars between songs. Like they'll break a string and it'll be back before even the next song's almost over. He's ready to give it back to him if that's the one they wanted to use. So it's you learn how to be very quick and efficient with this band. Otherwise, you die. So we actually went to. Dirks has been on Fractals for a long time before I was even around. And then Tommy, when he came in, he replaced Pustulus, who played Marshalls on stage. So we've gone to 2 digital rigs that I get my signal from and they get their ears from. We do have cabs on stage just for like air, but they're not really utilized anymore to push sound to the crowd, which has been amazing for me. Because when that Marshall was cranked, I couldn't hear anything but that, so that helped a lot. But all this is rigged up to where we have Cat 5 boxes for XLRs to just go to his world wherever they land. And it's all connected via MIDI card from Ableton for patch changes and effects. And then we've got a couple of wah pedals around the stage where Tommy can do his solos if he wants to, and sometimes Dave does them for certain songs. He's feeling the vibe of the wah while he's playing. So it's, again, redundancies. If something breaks, we've got a second fractal for him that we can switch to, and then we don't have a second Kemper right now, but we do have other methods of making noise if we need to. So that's another new redundancy we'll be building in. And then Orange just gave us a new head for Casey, which he switched from his Ampeg to this tour, and it has been a wonderful change of pace. A lot of space around notes and a lot of room for everything else where it was just kind of garbled before. So that's been a great addition. Really, this is a front of house guy's dream for people that actually know how to program it and spend time with it.
It is a lot. We spend hours and hours before show runs because they're in stilts. They're in these gigantic boots. Hitting a tiny pedal is not easy for them. So,
good point.
It's all built in so that it just swaps automatically at those spots.
Blood.
Yeah, exactly.
We used to wrap their pedal boards in plastic, and they'd be wearing these big feet, and they'd hit the wrong patch change, and you just see them want to die on stage. So we just said, let's eliminate that. You guys worry about playing and staying upright in your costumes, and we'll worry about the changes happening. But that's the main heart of Gwar is these 3 racks right here. This is what runs our show, and then everything else is kind of around it. So we're not really a track band. There's no real tracks during the shows. There's a couple added vocals here and there, but for the most part, the tracks are bed tracks between the songs for the theatrics and the voices of the characters. We've had shows where this rig just goes down and they say, fuck it, and they just do it without the click and without any of that stuff, and we'll pull out the little controllers and they'll play the show just like they used to in the 90s. So
getting back to the basics.
Yeah, it's interesting for those days where you're used to a show and hearing it a certain way, and then they just go to that old school, just feeling the drummer, and it's cool when it happens. It's cool both ways, but it's a nice special thing that most people don't get to see.
Is there a click?
There's a click, yeah. So there's one good improv part during America Must Be Destroyed where they click dies away and they just jam, and it's cool.
There's other spots where there's no click, or it'll drop out if it's a weird tempo change, and it can kind of float a little bit. But for the most part, yeah, there is a click to keep everybody a start and a stop.
No cues on which song's about to start, because sometimes we change things and don't tell everybody. So that way they at least get a little song title right before the song to get ready. But most part it's usually the same show. We laminate all our set list and kind of just, you can see there's been changes and stuff on this guitar case. But for the most part, we print them out, that's what it stays at, and then that's what those little pieces of tape are, we're changing this song and this song today, and moving it around. And then with his, he uses Able Set, so everything can be fired not in order, so changes on the fly are pretty easy for us. So, yeah.
Used to be a pain.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our stage rig. So this is Wayne. This is our favorite semi-driver we've ever had. He makes sure all of our gear makes it there and makes sure the truck stays packed and all that good stuff. But I don't think he realized what he got into when he got here, but now he's stuck. So Wayne, what's your favorite parts of this tour?
Favorite part was my second tour with you guys when you came out and informed me that I was your permanent tour driver. I was like, I don't have a choice. And you're like, no, you're the best driver we ever had. We ain't letting you get away.
Have you always been a driver?
I've always been a truck driver?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been driving since 93. I got 31 years in. And now the last 6 years has been tour driving. Before that, I was just a regular truck driver.
How'd you get from truck driving to tour driving? And how different is it?
That was actually by sheer chance. The company I'm with, we have a load board, and one of the agents just happened to have a tour and have it listed on the load board. I thought it was just a good load, so I called on it. It turned out to be a tour, and I've been touring ever since.
So what's the biggest difference from regular truck driving to tour driving?
Well, for one, 99% of my driving with touring is at night. I have to be involved. Regular truck driving, you're going point A to point B and you're done. With tour driving, you have to be involved with the loading, the unloading, securement. You need to learn your pack and how the truck is loaded. Because I do that, it makes their lives a lot easier. Because they just give me a radio, and then when time to load up, they just holler what you need next, and I tell them, and they send it to me.
Go ahead.
That way, we get the truck loaded in a more smooth and timely manner.
Which do you prefer?
Oh, I like the tour driving.
Even with him?
Yeah, even with Gwar. They work me hard, but they're good people, and they treat me and my wife like family.
Oh man, you're gonna be my first ever Midas, not Midas, but M32, not just M32.
Yeah, a little wave system. So right now, Dark Funeral show's loaded up, so I'm not going to go deep into his file. But they had the M32C when I started, so I just got them to get me an M32R and brought my Wade's rack out, which is housed down here. But the idea behind it is there's blood. So we haven't decided to move up to a higher end desk yet because of the fact that this has been sprayed multiple times and is still alive. We're a little bit worried to go to anything nicer because I don't think it's going to take the hits. We are debating on a D-Live rig next year, but I have a feeling we might just stick with this. It's sounding good for what we want. It's got this kind of 80s feel to it still, and it's clean, so I'm happy with it. We'll see what we want to play with later, but this is pretty much how I live now, is just a little M32, which is mostly just a fader bank and corrective EQ and a Wade's file. I have an SPL meter up, and then I've got a second computer that runs Reaper for multi-tracking, and that AbleSet program we talked about for tracks, so I can actually see where we are in the tracks, what's being fired, if something gets stopped, or I can start tracks from out here, it's pretty nice. And then I have a nice playlist that we use every night that just it's got some Toto, it's got some Weezer, it's got some Nickelback, it's got some Rick Rolls, it's got Gangnam Style. But we just like to party right before the show. But this is our front of house. It's a lot simpler than what we have happening.
All right, walk me through this.
So this is just the M32R. This is my MIDI controller that I use for my wave stuff for just pulling up plugins quickly. I also have 3 different vocal effects I turn on and off on Blothar, depending on the parts of the song. I've got like a doubler to make him sound just meaner. This we call it Berserker, but it's like a demon kind of deep voice that I turn on and off. Then I've got a harmonizer that does like a fourth on them for certain things, just to kind of weird things out and make it feel full. All these are just quick access to my Wave stuff, and then a quick overview key, and then a flip button that lets me get to my multi-track if I want to hear that before we sound check. And then down here I've got just a little Wave server, 2 B-Link computers. They have been awesome for running all my Wave stuff, and just my utility computer. They're cheap. They're like $300-400. So whenever they sprayed them and killed them, I could replace it fast. I've got a UPS in here and then a network switch. I just finished this case right before this tour, so I'm still kind of building it out, but I've got room for my shout box and all my screens and stuff like that. Patch panel on the side to just connect everything, and it's up in about 5 minutes and it's down in about 5 minutes, which lets me go back to the tour managing part of my job, which requires a lot more of my time than actually mixing anymore. So
Which do you prefer?
This absolutely. I do the tour management, so I can still do this. Pays a bit better, and it's I like the challenges. I don't like to be bored. So having something to do all day long with a bunch of intergalactic space aliens keeps me busy and keeps me entertained. I don't know if it's... What's that?
Sorry.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's Stockholm Syndrome or if I enjoy it anymore, but I'm here either way. So,
Stockholm Syndrome, I love it.
yeah.
How do you connect the waves to this?
It's a waves card in the back, just like most other desks. It's a 32 channel in and out that takes over the USB card slot, and it's Ethernet, so it just hooks into my network and lets me distribute audio between the M32, my wave system, and then my utility computer for multi-tracking. Makes it a lot easier, honestly. It's kind of like a needed demon now. Like this makes this desk feel a lot more like a D-Live to me than just an M32 with like their standard compressor and EQ and gates. That they work, but they weren't quite doing what I wanted for these guys. I needed like the PSE for the primary source expander to help with cymbal bleed, and the F6 multi-band compressor, that's on every channel. And then I have a couple other things like Vitamin and SSL E-channel just for some flavor to add some harmonics back in. But we're pretty straight. We don't do a lot. There's nothing that's got 8 plugins on it. It's really just like, what do I need to get what I want quickly? And that's really it. A bunch of Renaissance compressors now that those really help tighten everything up and give me the space between the notes I found. I started using those last year of Asking Alexandria when I was with them, and then kind of came back and retooled my waves file with those, and I've been really, really happy with it since then. So it's great.
All right, you got guitars that don't have a steady tone with a freaking MIDI controller in there. How do you even like prepare for that?
I get stereo channels from them, and I have their stereo spreads kind of like crossing from like left and right, but then kind of panning over, plus 25 to kind of make it big and full. But I actually take the left and right and EQ and compress them a little differently for the outsides as well as the middle to kind of give room for the vocalist. But when I need to push it up a little bit for solos, you still got a nice clean guitar sound throughout the whole room versus just taking a left and right and trying to make that work. I treat them as 2 different sources to kind of build that stereo field. And we spend a lot of time leveling out everything, but I mean, I still ride faders pretty hard on guitars and vocals, like just to kind of get it to feel right and feel the air correctly. It's not a set and forget band. You're actively mixing the entire show, and then you have the theater elements in between all of it too. So like keeping four to five mics hot at any given moment without just catching the entire drum kit has been a fun challenge, but I've gotten a good feel on it now where I've been happy with the clarity in the mix. So I didn't expect it from this little guy, but we've made it work.
Man, you can't. It'd be hard to even do like snap.
We have no snapshots. We don't do any snapshots. It's all mixed live. This is not a band that I can build anything for. We've got a good couple reverbs and delays that we use throughout the whole show and just keep it consistent. And I just know the songs after 4 years of I know what's happening. I know if somebody gets sprayed and they stop playing, I repan things until they're good and just make it full and bring the guy back in when he's ready to start playing again. So it's just it's a constant massaging of a metal band that I've never had to really try to accomplish before. So it's fun.
Well, it's gonna be awesome because you actually get to be involved with it instead of just having to sit there and watch it. I'm sure, is it different every night?
It's mostly the same show, but it depends on the room and everything. Like, there's some PAs in some rooms that I treat it more like a rock and roll gig that has some guys in costumes doing shit. And there's other rooms that I really try to treat it like a theater show. The Dark Funeral guy and I have been having a bet on who can have the most shows at a steady 97 A-weighted average. So it's been fun bringing the volumes down and really trying to find clarity and a good mix that's not just hurting people.
So what's been your trick to keeping it loud without it being loud?
A lot of those Renaissance compressors help me with that, and then those F6s bringing out the right frequencies and squashing the other ones that we don't need. As the guys get excited and yell more or have quieter talking parts, it's really just the constant learning how these guys play a character and how to make that happen on a mic. There's frequencies and stuff that come out from their mask and things that I used to try and get rid of it and make them sound like humans. And I just stopped one day and started just working with the fact that there were tones and frequencies that came off the mask where the mic's like shoved into their mouth hole, and the ball sack's helmet makes a weird tone that I kind of took and found it and made it more metallic sounding, so that way it sounds kind of like he's got a metal mask on versus a 3D printed helmet, and just run with it versus try to kill it. It's you can't make this band like any other band. You have to do shit to make it seem like it's a bunch of aliens on stage. I don't know how else to say it. It's just the guitars are ripping, the bass is ripping, the drums are ripping, and you just got the vocals sitting slightly on top of it and just big. I just aim for big but not hurting. So,
what's the biggest mistake you made on this tour?
On this tour?
Not even this tour. What's the biggest mistake you made since you've been on tour with this band?
With this band, there's a big part where, there's always an extra mic that the other characters play, and I keep that one muted when I can. But then I'll be fixing something and looking at the console, and I look up and there's just a little bone snapper up there talking into a dead mic, and I'm like, oh shit, all right. You kind of just turn him on and you catch like half of what he's saying, which with him it usually comes out funnier that way. So I don't know if it's a mistake as much as a creative it's a Bob Ross happy little accident, I would call that. But it's usually it's me forgetting to turn a mic or my mute group off for my vocals when we don't need them at the moment, and then realizing I've cut off what they're saying and they don't know because they're in the ears. Every once in a while I'll leave like the berserker voice on Blothar and he'll talk to the crowd, and sometimes I'll turn it off real fast, or sometimes I'll just let it happen and fade it out in the waves plug in. So, but usually there's always accidents in Gwar. There's always something that goes wrong. So you can't be mad about it. You just have to go, oh, whoops, and try not to do it again.
What's your biggest piece of advice you give to new engineers?
Make friends with your local venues. Schools are great, but the people that are in this business are in it for making friends and having people recommend them. EQ and compression, learn that like the back of your hand. And learn that there's a difference between studio and live. There's a huge difference. And try not to make your mixes huge. Start and try to make it sound good at a lower volume. Get an SPL meter. Look at that religiously. Stuff like that helps. There's a lot of talk of negative 18 as like your goal for where your mic line should be. Don't do that. Go and learn. If you want to be an engineer, it's about feel. You have to feel it. It's not, these meters and things are helpful once you understand the feel. If you're going off of meters and trying to line everything up as like someone wants to record something, you're gonna have a really bad time. It's really, you have to trust yourself, and you have to make mistakes. You have to have that mic squawk at you with feedback and go, oh, well, why did that do that? Is it just because it's this room? Is it something in my show file? It's understanding that you're making one big speaker, and each room's gonna be different. So house gigs are great because you can really learn a rig and learn how to change your file around it. And then when you get out on tour, you flip your mindset and go, okay, well, I have this really great show file that sounds awesome in 90% of the rooms. Now, how do I have quick ways of fixing that for those 10% of the rooms, but be able to restart in the next room with that cool show file? So those kind of things I would say really help in the beginning of learning stuff. Definitely don't think studio and live is the same thing, and anybody tells you have to do something a certain way is a liar. This is like painting. You can pick any color and paintbrush you want. Just because somebody says you have to do it to get this tree to look that way, that's not the only way to make a tree, So
I love that. Favorite song to mix in this tour?
I like a lot of them. America Must Be Destroyed for this one is really great. There's no vocals in it. There's a couple like vocal tracks of like presidents and people saying stuff, but it's really just like raw, energetic rock and roll that I just get to feel, and it's the one song these guys really improv on a lot. So I'm constantly feeling like for who's kind of taking over on a solo, or like the click drops out and they go into this really cool like just slowing everything down and feeling each other out, and and these noises are happening, and all this stuff's happening, and it's a thrill and fun, just trying to recreate that every night, but have it be special and new for each venue and each group of people.
First off, what is your name?
My name is Matt McGuire.
Hi, Matt McGuire.
I'm the art director for Gwar.
Art director for Gwar.
Yes, and so I also perform along with the band on stage. So here, at this point, we have our mainline costumes inside this dressing room.
Wait, we get to go in here?
Yeah, come on in.
What?
Come on in.
Oh, my goodness.
So this is typically how they set during the day, trying to air out and dry out from all the night's performances. And yeah, so you can see a lot of this stuff is, this is all latex and rubber stuff. So we've got it all. It's right now it's kind of drying out because he's sweated in it so much. So yeah, this one is latex with a little bit of foam in it. It's not too much. We try not to put too much foam in our stuff because the sweat gets caught up in there, and it also adds to rotting and extra weight. You know, just you don't think about that when you put like so much liquid into it.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
So, and plus our spew as well. Most of these guys are sculpted and molded pieces because we want to try to be able to replace them on the road and stuff. So if something gets broken or stolen or stuff like that, then we can actually get somebody to make one while we're
that's
away.
smart.
Yeah. So a lot of these pieces are still they're handmade, you know, so like there's like real hair put in and all that stuff. And then you know, it's essentially you know, I guess it's a way to keep us from being a show without a costume anymore. We used to have to do that back in the day. We'd actually just be like, well, okay, well, I'll put a trash bag on my head, and that'll be it for this one, you know.
Redundancy.
Yeah. So yeah, these are a lot of these are still these are actually older pads that we've repurposed to make this costume here, and just put a new paint job on them. So yeah, so we can also do that as well. We can also repurpose, which this show that we're doing currently is about 80% repurposed stuff we've had laying around or stuff that we'd done years and years ago. So yeah, you want to come check out some more stuff out this way?
Yes.
So this is what a good example. This was a Biden head that we had that we repurposed and made him into Sleepy Joe for the show. So he's our finale. No spoilers, sorry. But this is a zombie that we repurposed into making him Robert E. Lee for the show. So we've put the beard and hat on him and stuff and turned him into a Confederate general. Yeah. So this is a Bone Snapper. This is Bob Gorman's character. This is who he plays right here.
All right. So from concept to actual practical application for this, how long is that time frame?
Well, for like say his costume, that usually takes about 3 months. You know, so sketches, drawings, conceptual ideas, up to fabrication, mold making, soft sculpting. Some of this is like in early Gwar, we used to go out and we'd dumpster dive for a lot of our materials because we were, you know, working on a budget, right? So we'd actually go get couch cushions and carpet foam and make a lot of this soft sculpted, which that's Bob's costume is mostly this. It's like this is a piece couch cushion foam sculpted into an arm and then has appliques. So these are like latex appliques that make it a little bit more textural and interesting, you know. But that's a good way, it's a lot cheaper way of doing it. You don't have to make a ginormous mold for this whole thing. You just add some extra little goodies on it, you know.
All right, what costume are you most proud of?
Oh, geez, that's tough. There's so many that we've done throughout the years. Gosh, that's a tough one. I would say for engineering and idea and just grandiosity of it would be Gorgor. The iteration of Gorgor that we had, I guess it was our third I think it was our third one. That one was just so big and just such a big it's almost like you see all those Walking with Dinosaur people, those ones that have the cool scoops and the animatronic pieces and stuff. And we had, you know, we were trying to emulate what they ended up perfecting, you know. But it was great. It's definitely an amazing. It's still one of those. If people saw it, they're like, "Oh my gosh, they had this dinosaur on stage attacking everybody. It was so crazy."
Would you say that was the most technically complicated one you've had to do?
That again is a tough one because you say, well, is the fact that we've got spew running through the whole thing so that it can bleed out of his mouth or bleed out of its head, or you know, yeah, it's a tough one. Jeez, put me on the spot with that. There's so many of them that are technically complicated. I'd say, unfortunately, Gwar has a lot of that because it has to be able to survive travel, the spew, the, you know, adversities of the road, and then just performing every night because we're working band. We pretty much play every night pretty much. So it's kind of like, yeah, from a technical, geez, that's a good question. And sorry, I don't have a total good answer for it.
Not just these don't have to just look awesome. They actually be functional.
Yeah.
But not just functional. They actually have to do other things of like spew blood and stuff for that. Can you show me an example of that and how you integrated that? Because that's a whole different like.
Well, like a good example would be this decap shoulders here, right? So originally, when we first started doing, we wanted to have a person be able to be decapitated. So we're like, okay, well, how do we make that happen? And it's like, of course, you want to have the fake head up here. We were, you know, initially doing stuff where we had little slots and we made little, you know, harnesses for like a helmet and all this other stuff. But we got away from that as we started to realize how to perfect it. We actually sculpted and molded a uniform chest that has an area where in the clavicles, you can look right out of the clavicles and you can breathe through the pectoral area there. But it has a ready-made like area that, you know, looks like you just sliced it off very nice and neatly. You know, It has some of here like your trachea and your esophagus and all that. There's also a little part of the vertebrae back here that, I don't know if you can see that or not, but that's where we usually house a spew hose. So then it's sort of like you're just wearing an extra hat. It's like on top of your head, and you just sort of aim it down towards the crowd. Because that was the other thing, is that if you didn't know where the spew hose was coming out or where it was pointed, you had no clue if you're spewing the lights or spewing, you know, essential gear or any stuff like that. So as we learned and, you know, understood what we needed to do, then we sort of designed it to work this way, you know. So that's a good example right there, the decap shoulders. This is where we end up staging a lot of our gear, and I'll put this over here so we don't get bothered for now. Yeah, so I don't know, can we get over there? I guess we can get over there. Here, let's get over to this side here. Can you make it over here? Can you see over in here? Okay, so these are our tanks that we use to spew blood and stuff. So essentially we have them powered by a compressor, which is right back in here. Yep. So they're all back up in here. And the crowd is probably not going to allow us to do this. So this one actually pressurizes all the tanks. We have two 33-gallon tanks, and then there's a smaller array of colored tanks here, so we can do different colors. There's like blue and green and red in these as well. So they all hook to all the costumes so that we can spray the blood on the audience.
So these are in the costumes the entire time?
Yeah, well, no. So they actually, you can see that we have quick connect cables right here. So as a character comes out on stage, we have a tech that hooks us up as we go out. So,
but during the performance, while they're up here, they're wearing that.
Yeah. So in the performance, when we're running around getting killed and stuff, we're connected to these tanks, and the tanks pressurize and push the blood out onto the audience. So that's how the secret behind the curtain, right?
That's genius.
Yeah.
How much of this blood do you have to carry?
Well, so that's the beauty of it, right? Because what we do in here is watering and food coloring. So we fill up at every club that we go to.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me it's not real blood?
No, well, I mean, okay, what we actually do is when the crowd is killed, we drain all the blood out of all the victims that were there the night before, and put it into the tanks. So then we just carry it from each. I mean, the audience provides it. That's what I've been.
These guys?
Yeah, they're going to be in the tanks later.
They're excited to be blood.
So then, here's a good example of some of the giant monsters that we get into the giant monster.
Oh my
classes.
gosh, that is huge.
Yeah, so we essentially it's usually one operator. We've had costumes that have been up to 3 operators at once. So you can see the scope. Like this is 2 giant monsters right here, and you see how much space they take up and how big they'll be during the show. So these are some of the other ones, like I say, in the Gwar one. That's why I like the bigger costumes, because they do take some engineering and some ingenuity to get them to work on stage, you know?
These all can spew from 2 or 3 different places.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the giant monsters. They spew out of a lot. Like this guy, he gets his head ripped off, and he spews out of this. And there's a ring of hosing in here, and so it just shoots like a giant, like an old Japanese samurai movie where it just shoots out in a big, crazy directions. It's awesome.
I love how this stuff like isn't haphazardly put together. There's a bunch of thought and time and effort and energy and months that goes into making one of these.
Yeah, they're definitely a lot to consider when you're making these ones, especially because we also have to make them durable and last. Because you'll see in the show we beat the hell out of them, so they've got to be able to take the blows as well.
Do you carry other costumes, like backups to them?
There's a couple of things, but most of the time, no. Like, you don't have a backup for these guys, you know, unfortunately. But luckily, they're so big, you'd see a kid try to huff it to his car or whatever.
Well, I just mean in case one breaks or something happens to it, you just fix it on the spot?
Oh, yeah. If something breaks, we usually just fix it. So it's like, depending on, like, how bad of a break. We've had, like, I think about... It was probably 2 monsters that we just had to say, all right, it's catastrophically, it's not going to work anymore. We just got to cut it from the show. And we've had to adjust. But that's what's great about a Gwar show, is that you can always adjust to make it be like, oh, it's cool. You know, like something else comes out or something else happens, you know, so.
See the condom microphone? Keep all the blood off.
Tommy Meehan, yeah.
Tommy, what do you do?
I play guitar in Gwar, which is awesome because I've been a fan since I was really, really young, and I've, you know, followed their career and everything they've done for like 25 years. So getting the chance to come play guitar has been like a total dream come true. And then I have my own bands as well. That's kind of what led me to being in Gwar, and right now one of them is Squid Pisser. We're out on the road right now supporting Gwar, so I'm doing double duty, and it's dream come true. Super fun.
Favorite aspect about Gwar? Like, what was that first song you heard with them, or like what attracted you to them?
Gwar, I mean, Gwar kind of has everything where it's like brutal metal and vibe, but there's just it's not too like serious, and it's just like really fun. I mean, and what I love about going to Gwar shows is, like, before I joined the band, is that it feels like you're in a completely different, like, it feels like you're in a comic book, and you're just like, oh, now I'm part of this scene where this president or this celebrity are getting their head or arms ripped off and disemboweled, and I know all the lyrics, so I'm like, I'm following along, and it creates this atmosphere of like fantasy or sci-fi or whatever that you just, if you like watching those types of movies or reading comics or whatever, it's like you get to live in it, and you're in the pit with. It's like you're in the battle, and there's literally blood flying everywhere. It's just like the best time ever.
Do you approach this differently than with your other bands, or do you find a little bit more freedom to be able to do different stuff being behind a mask?
Yeah, it's funny, being behind a mask is like, yeah, you just kind of have to assume the character. And so, like, I've been studying Gwar stuff my whole life, and so when it was time to do Grodius, I'm like, oh, I knew how to slip into that role to some degree. I'm still always working at it and getting better, but yeah. And then in regard to like, or Squid Pisser, which is another mask band, it's just a completely different vibe, and we're bringing a different flavor. So it's like there's not really any comedy going on, but with Gwar, there's like an element of like fun and playfulness that's, I don't know, overtly comedic, which I enjoy, which I've never really done before. So,
What's your favorite song to play on this tour?
Favorite song to play on this tour is probably Bile Driver. And we bring the Bile Driver out, which I had been seeing for years and years, you know, like, so I don't know, it's just dream come true. It's awesome.
That's awesome, man. Where are you from?
The Bay Area originally, and that's where I would go see Gwar. I was at this place called the Phoenix Theater in Petaluma, California.
What was your first time seeing Gwar?
I believe it was the Blood Drive tour in 2002. And that was like, yeah, kind of just what I was, first time I saw them, yeah, I was like a fan for life immediately, which is like, I hear that all the time from people, so I get it.
It's really cool because it's like, it's so different and so unique from other bands and so expressive in ways that I feel like maybe other bands can't necessarily do, where you guys get the freedom to do it in so many different ways. It's actually really, really cool. But man, I appreciate you. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
If people want to follow you and follow your career, where can they follow you at?
I mean, you can check out Squid Pisser or Grodius Maximus Official on Instagram, or my personal is Tommy Meehan Official or something on Instagram. So,
Okay. We'll come to a Gwar show near you, baby. Let's go.